This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, December 8th, 2008, and this is episode 498 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgeford of StudiosCentral.com. And joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a blogger at allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Well, Matt, it looks like they're throwing him a housewarming party.
Housewarming party. I have no idea. I'm blanking here. Newell, you have any idea?
No, yeah.
Yeah. What is it, Mike?
Well, if you were on the Liberty Bell riverboat,
you'll
hear that.
Right. The little house that's on fire.
That's right.
Oh, God. I wouldn't have gotten that if I sat here for 2 days, I wouldn't have gotten it.
Wow.
I know.
At any rate, joining me also on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse Radio. Mike,
yes.
I'm sitting here in the Caribbean without you, buddy. Where are you? You can still make it.
I'm about 2,000 miles north of you right now. It's a little late.
You can still make it. There's still time. Annette can make it happen.
I'm sure she could, and I have every confidence that she could, but maybe next year.
She's waiting in the diversion, so we got to get this going.
Good answer, Mike. Good answer.
Thank you.
And also joining us today is Greg Ehrbar, two-time Grammy Award-nominated Disney writer and author of Mousetracks, the story of Walt Disney Records. And he's also the special guest speaker in the annual Past Speaker Series, doing a special presentation at Walt Disney World called Disney Holiday Magic from Toyland to the Jungle, which will be occurring on Saturday, December 13th. Welcome back to the show, Greg.
Hi. Nice to be back.
Glad to have you back here, Greg. Now, you always do such interesting things, obviously, because your niche that you've carved out for yourself is so unique and so interesting. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the event that's going to be going on the 13th, which is later this week, what you're doing exactly, because it is a really interesting event.
Well, the idea of Pass Holder Series is part of an overall effort to create a lot of nice pluses. They call them perks, pass holder perks, for being a pass holder. In addition to getting the year in the parks, there's previews when an attraction opens. Inevitably, there is a special preview before the general public, and there are, of course, discounts and special rates and things like that. So one of the things they've just created is a speaker series, which is an exclusive, and I've been asked to come up with a nice little program that ties in with Disney's Animal Kingdom and the holiday events that they have there. So I'm going to be appearing over there after the parade. So pass holders who sign up, and you have to go on the special pass holder site to sign up, will get a VIP viewing of Mickey's Jingle Jungle Parade, and then they'll be taken over to where my presentation will be, and then the magic really begins.
This is terrific, because I know a lot of our listeners will be down there already for Mouse Fest, and it sounds like a really interesting event. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit, give us a little bit of a preview of what we can expect there. What are some of the things you'll be touching upon during your talk?
What I'm hoping to do is take everyone from one of the very first holiday parades in a Disney park, which of course is the early 60s, in 1961, when Walt was welcoming people to see the soldiers from Babes in Toyland, and they also had some of the set pieces on display there, and how the roots of a lot of the entertainment that came after all sort of sprang out of that. And going through the various years, the different kinds of entertainment, since records and Mousetracks are my specialty, we'll talk a little bit about that. Some things that people might not have realized who hadn't read the book, about how Walt came up with some ideas on his own about some Christmas records, and some background information. Mickey's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I'm going to go through some background information on that. And one thing in particular is that the music that's set to actually goes back to the early 1940s from the radio show Fibber McGee and Molly, and that was used in other ways as well. So I'll go into the history of that, and then we'll lead up to the Jingle Jungle Parade, and we've got some exclusive interviews with the creative people behind that'll show you how the parade is put together, and so you get more fun when you see it each time. It's sort of like the extras on a DVD.
Nice. Now, this event is going on, your talk is going on before the parade, if I got this right?
I think I'm after the parade.
After the parade, okay. So what time?
Yeah, now all entertainment and events are subject to change without notice, as we always say in our disclaimers.
Right, absolutely.
So it could all change around, but as it stands now, it's the parade and then me.
Okay, so the parade is obviously at 3:00 p.m. And then following the parade, you have you on there. So this will all be going on in the late afternoon on Saturday.
Yeah, and you have to sign up for it. You can't just arrive because
That's right.
you may not be seated. So I don't want anyone to arrive and then be disappointed. So the best thing to do is to go onto the website and if there are no seatings, then there may be more added on. I'm not sure.
Right, absolutely. You go to disneyworld.com/pass holder, and you'll be able to, if you're an annual pass holder, obviously take advantage of that. Tell us a little bit more. You mentioned something that really piqued my interest, which was the music of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Talk a little bit more about that, because that is something that I think a lot of our listeners, especially me, would find interesting. I mean, does Disney really? It seems to me like a lot of the songs they use are always going back to, again, those classic years, the classic entertainment that is almost like classic Americana, if you want to label it at that.
Yeah. I love Mickey's Toys the Night Before Christmas. That's probably my favorite show on property because it has everything. It's sort of a capsulized version of everything that's in Magic Kingdom. It's got the soldiers. It's got it's got Mickey and Minnie. It's got Chip and Dale. It's got all the different characters. It's got a lot of great songs. It's got Santa Goofy. There's a lot of variety in it. But the thing that impresses me the most is that it uses this version of The Night Before Christmas. Now, the poem was written by Clement Moore, but the music that it's sung to was written in the 40s by Ken Darby. And if you're a movie buff or a record buff, you'll know his name because he was the choral director for Song of the South, The Wizard of Oz, Finian's Rainbow, The Music Man. I mean, all of the great Hollywood classics were he did the vocal arrangements. And he was in a group called the Kingsmen on radio, and on Fibber McGee, which was a sitcom in the radio, which also gave us a lot of great voice actors. Bill Thompson, who was Mr. Smee, was a regular on that, and a lot of other people who did animation. Every year they had a tradition. They would do this Night Before Christmas set to this particular melody, and it was recorded afterwards by the Fibber McGee people, and then Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians recorded it for Decca. Then it came out by the Harry Simeon Chorale, and in 1968 it was made into an animated special.
Wow!
That was actually introduced by Art Linkletter originally, and but it ran in syndication all through the 70s. That sort of told the story of how Clement Moore was going to give a speech, and his daughter was sick, and she wanted him to write a poem about Santa, and he couldn't find any kind of a book, so he came up with the story himself. And that was with the Norman Luboff Choir, and that was made into a record. But the same version that you hear every year in the Mickey Show is that version.
Wow, that's right. Now, let me ask you this. When you're talking about this kind of research that you're doing for this, does Disney come to you and say, hey, Greg, would you mind doing this? And by the way, you need to do the research because we don't even know it also? Or is this something like you're doing on the side and you come to Disney? Or how does it work? Would you meet in the middle?
It's kind of serendipity in this way because it's part of what I do already because my specialty in the job that I have is a writer for what they call the Yellow Shoes Creative, which is basically the creative department for the advertising and marketing area. What I do is I specialize in long stories that go into detail for people who love to know about Disney. And so I write a lot of the material, not all, but a lot of the material for the Mickey Monitor, which is the quarterly newsletter for pass holders, and also the monthly e-newsletter on DisneyWorld.com, which is called Hello when you get the email every month if you're a registrant on there, or also called Backstage Pass on the My Disney Vacation page. So that's my passion. I mean, like you guys, I just love learning about stuff. I love interviewing Imagineers and different people connected with Disney, voice actors, celebrities, and guests. Every time we have a premiere of an attraction, I go out into the park and I talk to pass holders, and that's one of the greatest things of all because there's nothing more satisfying for someone who loves Disney, as you know, than talking to other people who love Disney too.
Absolutely. Scopa?
You know, Greg, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. But I haven't grown up yet. A little bird told me that you are coming up north a little bit later this year. Could you talk about that?
Actually, I just got back yesterday. Actually, this morning at 1 a.m. is when I got home. I spent a week in New York City because I was able to get a 34th Street grandstand seat with my family for the Macy's parade.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was just super cool.
Nice.
And it was sort of surreal. We saw the balloons. Actually, anybody who goes to New York City at Thanksgiving time, first of all, it's sort of like going to the Magic Kingdom on Christmas Day or on Easter Sunday, you know, those times. It's wall-to-wall people, and don't expect to get anywhere too quickly. But the night before the parade, they set up all of the balloons in Central Park West, near the Natural History Museum. And they lay them all out there under nets that are held down with sandbags. And as they inflate, the public is invited to walk by. So it really was neat seeing the Kermit balloon and the Snoopy balloon, and of course this year's big new one, which was the Buzz Lightyear balloon. And then the next day we had to get to Macy's about 7:30, and then they took us out to, I mean, there was tons and tons of people. We were out on the very same street where they shot Miracle on 34th Street, and we watched the floats go by. And of course, we saw the new Buzz balloon and the float with Bolt and Sesame Street and all that stuff. So it was really cool.
That's interesting. Now, Greg, when you did all this research that you did for the talk that you're about to give later this week, how long does this take typically for something like this? I mean, to really like get it down from, I mean, I'm sure you knew some things beforehand, but to really get it all to where you're happy with it, because I'm sure, like Scopa, who is your protege evidently, you always want to try to get it right, get it perfect almost. How long does it take to do all that?
You never really do. That's the beauty of being into Disney.
Good answer.
Well, that's the beauty is it's infinite. You never stop learning new things. I never stop finding records I didn't know were made. I'm constantly saying, I didn't know they made that album, or I didn't know they made that CD. It's an astonishing thing how it's the deepest well, and you're constantly mining for new jewels. So that's the joy of it. It's the agonizing joy of it, because you can never have everything, because you got to live in your house. You can't just fill it with stuff. Though my wife might have something to say about that. but it's infinite, and it's a lifetime thing. I always read the credits. I really get irritated when people get up before the credits. I always cheer when something cool happens after the credits, because that's what they get for leaving early. They miss that thing. And you start memorizing the names that you see, and after a while, and you read the notes on the CDs and the albums, and watch the credits on TV or look on the IMDb, and you start seeing similarities. You start putting names together and seeing who did what. And in the case of records, it's hard with children's records because they don't always have credits. So if you read enough of the ones on some, after a while you'll recognize the voices and know who are on the others. And sometimes we never find out. Tim Hollis, who's the co-author of Mousetracks, and I are still at dead ends on a couple of voices that we can't identify on some of the records. But we were able to track down almost everyone else.
Oh, interesting. So now, because you said that you're someone who always continues to look for new things, and I think this might be a good thing to get us out on, tell us about what's the latest cool thing that you discovered? Something like be it a credit or a track that you never knew existed, or a record you never knew existed. What's the latest discovery that you, Greg Ehrbar, have found just, I don't know, in the past couple weeks?
There is an album, I don't have it, but I look at the magicmusic.net site all the time, and somebody mentioned a George Bruns album. He was like the legendary Disney composer. He put out an album, I think, of Hawaiian music or tropical music. I had no idea that existed, and someone listed it on there, and of course I wrote it down, and every time I go on eBay or look around, I'm always hunting for it. So that's my new holy grail.
that and garage sales, right?
Garage sales. It's fun to go into towns and look for the rare record shops that you haven't gone to, and the various websites. It's a lot of fun to discover stuff. And then, of course, I don't get up to New York very often, so one of the things I also discovered was the Disney Broadway shows. This is the first time I actually saw any of the Disney Broadway shows. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but I finally got to see Mary Poppins and The Little Mermaid, and that's part of Disney I'd never experienced before.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, we appreciate you coming on here. And again, the event is called Disney Holiday Magic from Toyland to the Jungle. It's part of the exclusive Disney Pass Holder Speaker Series. And again, you have to be a annual pass holder to participate. Space is limited, but you can still sign up on Saturday, December 13th. Just go to disneyworld.com/passholder, and hopefully there'll be space for you to join Greg and everyone else there. I think it's going to be a fabulous event, Greg. So good luck with the event. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thanks, and I also want to mention I've got a blog on our website, mousetracksonline.com.
Absolutely. Definitely
so
give those a check out.
When there's events like this, we'll try to get them on there as well.
Fabulous. Well, that's it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our shows, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Lancaster, Mike Hope, and Mike Newell, and Greg Ehrbar, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.